in the modern players today, it is what it is. You know, some of these players want to know why. I've got no problem ever answering why. And I think that's how you develop an open trust and a strong relationship with your players. And you can coach them hard or coach them in your own way. And I always do this, and I said to our staff here in Atlanta, and we are teachers first. And I always say that we are always trying to push the envelope, find new ways to teach. We understand that attention spans are shorter than they've ever been. We're always looking at tonight. Maybe you guys have some good ideas I can steal from you, but we're always looking for the best ways to reach and teach our guys. You know, we've gone into a point where you take breaks, and things that used to be unheard of 5-10 years ago is, you know, after 20 minutes, sometimes I tell these guys, hey, we'll take 2 minutes, look at your phone, walk around. But, you know, the good thing is we can find them if their phone goes off, and you guys have different ways of punishment, but we can at least use the fine system. And I think this, and I believe in this, like, be yourself. I think you got to be authentic in your style of teaching, your core beliefs. Whatever you believe in, I think you got to be you, and you got to be authentic. I feel like an excellent staff here. We've got guys with a lot of different experience. You know, Dean Pease, he's got 48 years of coaching from the high school to the college to the National Football League, and he has a way of go about it. We hired Nick Berry out of Alabama, who had been an analyst down there, and he's his first year as an assistant in the NFL. And I told Nick, be yourself. You know, learn from everybody, but it doesn't matter if you're going into year 50 or year 2. And then committing to our style of play, the why. The way I look at it, and this is just from an offensive standpoint, so hopefully I don't bore some of you defensive guys on here tonight, but we're looking at ways to put conflict on the defense. And what I'm going to get into here with this film is how we marry up our concepts. And I think it's important that you marry up your concepts, complement themselves. And I really don't think it matters what system you run. You can be a spread, you can be an air raid, you can be a wing tee, you can play in condensed formations like us. All this stuff is building to what you believe in and your commitment. At the end of the day, once you decide, here's what we believe in, here's what we're going to implement, and you're working every day, our objective, to me, as we go into game planning, is how we marry up our concepts. Do they complement each other? I think that's important when you want to have different looks. Different concepts off the same looks. But I really don't think that just because we did it in Tennessee one way, it's better if you've got a strong belief in the air raid, you run wing tee, you run triple option football, you run spread zone read, you want to play it no huddle, quick pace. There's a lot of ways that guys have proved in a lot of different places in high school and college, in the NFL, that you can be good on offense. I'm just here to kind of show you what we do and the why. But this is a huge part when we go into a game plan. Can we put the defense in conflict? And I think a lot of things open. What we believe in here is it keeps a level of simplicity. And this is a quote that I always kind of, I fear not the man who's practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who's practiced one kick 10,000 times. And it's hard, especially when you get to our level. There's some really cool plays, and there's some things that I've stolen. I love this time of year when we're getting ready for the draft. I tag plays, watching different offenses, and there's some cool stuff I kind of put in a library, and then I got to make the decision, does that fit us? And because we want to make sure we get enough reps. And it's important, even if we're coaching Matt Ryan or Ryan Tannehill, as much as we pay these guys and we think they're supermen, they need to see the looks over and over again. And you got to be careful sometimes when you're game planning. Try not to get too cute. And, you go off one look and you only practice it once. And then, it's Murphy's Law, you get a different look. And they haven't had the reps. Like a lot of times when the game gets tough, we go to our fastballs, but we feel like we can dress it up. And I'm going to go into this here in a second with different personnel, different motions, and different looks. But there's one things I hit a lot is I tell these guys we need to be brilliant in the basics. So I think you'll see that when I go into this film here. And the last part of the why, trying to create buy-in and understanding among the players, and quality repetition, I believe, builds success, and you're really building confidence, and it gets your buy-in. All right, so I get in here now. I'm gonna go a little clips. This is gonna be some of the stuff we did in Tennessee, and I hit this every day with our offense. It takes all 11, and it's certainly for us, it takes all 11 to run the football. And that's including the quarterback. We're gonna get into condensed formations here in Atlanta. We still play under center. We get in the gun plenty, but we play under center and we put a lot on our quarterback, the way we package plays. But if they're going to put an 8 defender in the box or a 7 defender and we're 1 back and 11, quarterback's got to carry out his fake, and we hold everybody accountable. So I'm going to start here with the wide zone. So this is kind of our bread and butter in our run game and where we started in Atlanta and what we did in Tennessee, what we still believe in, and we'll evolve, but our principles up front, we are a physical wide zone team. We're not looking to run to the sideline. We're looking to play speed off the ball, toughness, and finish, and that hasn't changed. Trying to knock people off the line of scrimmage and win a gap, pressing it, trying to go outside and winning a gap and reading it one at a time, putting our foot in the ground. And we preach effort and finish around here. And that's why, I'll die on that hill. The way you coach in high school, it works in college, and it certainly works in the NFL. So this is one of our bread and butters. I'm just going to our wide zone, our 18-19. This is a balanced formation we use, and I'm going to show you plays that we build off. This is just our 18 alert Oscar. We have different parameters. We'll give the quarterback where we want to take this. This is a mirrored formation here, and I'm really just kind of focusing on our style of play, so you don't think I'm full of it, sitting here preaching to you tonight. I really want you to focus here, too, of our style of play of coming off the football and demanding all 11 and playing with effort and finish. We're just trying to win one gap at a time. And we just sit here and we say some people believe you can't knock people back at certain levels. We certainly feel otherwise. There's a different level of guys that we value over and over that I'll get in these films. And I said, look, we value this. We value guys that are good teammates, guys that are finishing to the ball, pick them up. Don't let guys get that extra rip shot on your ball carrier. I always like to point out when I'm showing right now, we're installing guys, with Atlanta, guys in the game. I mean, this is a left guard we took out of the undrafted out of Texas State last year named Aaron Brewer. And we try to reward them. We always tell them, we don't care where you're drafted. The best players are going to play. And again, it goes back to implementing what you say and what you believe in. You see here, just highlighting our finish, trying to displace guys, winning the gap. You can see right now we pretty cleanly here won the front side A gap. Different ways to do it. Get into our no huddle, but you can see right now, like our style against. We're coming off the football. We rep this over and over again as we build our individual. We get into our team run and how we try to practice. Knock them off, win a gap. Our front side is just as important as the back side, and it does take all 11. And these are body blows. We're going to come at you, rep after rep. Just win us a gap and go forward. And off these, off our 18 and 19, we'll build on first and second down our keepers, our boots, however you want to call them, our movement blast, changing the launch point, getting guys on the move, and really to keep that 8th defender honest. They're going to put 8 in the box, and we're going to run our wide zone out of any of our 12 and 21. So we got 7 really in the box here, not including our receivers. We got ways if guys aren't being honest, chasing down the line of scrimmage, not honoring the quarterback. Our counterpunch is going to be our keeper game. Different ways to do it. Like I said, we mix up personnel. We're sitting here in 12, throw a little shift on here, pre-snap, use the cadence, snap it, and try to put as much conflicts and stress as we can. Move in the pocket, finding effective ways to move it off our outside zone, wide zone game. It's got to look and feel like the run, though. Anytime we get in our keepers and our play pass, I always tell the line, it's a free fight there. You take a shot at a guy. So go back to spotlight the video, don't mind.
Yes, sir. I got you, Coach.
No worries, man. Different ways to do it, too. And plays that we think they complement each other. They're part of our identity. They build off each other. Getting guys running. So you got the wide zone. You put the keepers off of it. And our single back stuff. Another thing coming in, and just you can see over and over again, us hitting our keepers. keeping them honest. They want to come too fast downhill, we'll get them moving. And some of our two-back, weak wide zone. Same thought here, but you're going to see a commitment to running the football, playing it condensed. This is just who we were. And this is stuff we worked on every day. We tried to be us, what we felt was best for our players and a little bit of our identity. Using cadence, knocking them back, and guys finishing. There's A.J. Brown right there up the top. You can see here comes the line, here comes the tight end. Can we spotlight this guy? I just saw a comment here about the what happened here. You guys can see the video.
Coach.
You good?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. You can see right here, just looking at our double teams. I mean, these are combination blocks that we get thousands of reps on. You know, these guard tackle combination blocks that we call over blocks, trying to win the gap, and how we scheme this stuff up. If we get these backers on the ball, we got multiple ways to do it. But it really is. There's nothing real flashy about it. It's our basics that we believe in. Trying to knock people off the ball, finish, and wear people out. And then the other thing it does, it takes a commitment. When this style of play, you got to be in excellent shape. As you can see, I mean, it does help when you have Derrick Henry. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I mean, you got a guy that's unique like that can carry the ball 300 plus times and completely continue to wear DBs down. But it takes those big guys up front. It takes the quarterback getting us in the right play. It takes those receivers committing to it. But we will reward these guys, and I'm going to do our play pass here in a minute. But I just wanted to show you ways we do this and getting our bread and butter. And we use motion. We use different personnel groups. We can get no huddle. We can go huddle. This is one of our guys we signed in training camp last year. Jeremy McNichols been in multiple camps, did a great job, carved out a third down role, did a hell of a job for us last year. Maybe this is O-line coach, O-line guy, me, but I can sit here and watch Roger Saffold all day. They're knocking people off the ball, displacing people, open up the B gap, and let's roll. It takes a commitment by the receivers, blocking on the perimeter, guys finishing downfield. You see 87 there's another guy we signed in camp. He's an old Texas guy, Jeff Swain. There's a guy, Cam Batson, who was an undrafted guy at Texas Tech. We didn't care. We were going to play the best players. Well, we had good players, but the culture that we implemented is empowers those guys that, then I give Mike Vrabel a lot of credit. He's talking about a top-down approach. We didn't care. We were going to play the guys that committed, that were willing to put in the work and do it the way we wanted. Now, here's the play pass. So if you get in there and we feel we're a physical wide zone, we'll run some gap scheme stuff. We feel like we're a physical running football team, and we marry the wide zone and the keepers, and then we have play pass off it as well. See, when you start wearing people out and get these guys to step up, and they give you free access, and you can get a commitment to it, you're going to get wide open space right here. And this is one of my favorite clips right here. Yeah, this is great by A.J. Brown. But you can watch Corey Davis up top. I call this a run batted in or assist. Guys believe in finishing, helping their teammates out. That's an explosive play that becomes a touchdown because of Corey Davis. Well, you can demand it, whether they're professionals and they're making $15 million a year or a high school kid. You can see it with your own eyes. It works. But it's got to be an all-in, buy-in, top-down approach. Same play. You're going to see it again. I know it's on your screen. Rita X Rocket. What we did right here, we got in no huddle. We got into our 13 personnel. We opened it up. We have multiple plays off this. Again, trying to put the defense in conflict. Pre-snap. Quarterback's got to be ready. They got to believe it. Shift. Come back down. We hit our bread and butter in our play pass, our two-back play pass. look, feel like the run, get the open space. These are reps that we build over and over and over again. There's no magic. There's no shortcut. It's what we believed in. There's another guy, that receiver right there, Khalif Raymond. He's about 5'9", 170 pounds. He made one of the biggest plays in the divisional game against Baltimore 2 years ago. He was cut 6 times, played at Holy Cross. And this is powerful when these guys work. You develop guys on your practice squad, and you put them out there and they get a helmet on game day, and you call their number. I think that's one of the most things you can do to really get the bottom of your program up when you show these guys you believe in them, because they deserve it. And not just sit there and coddle the stars is what I like to call it. We don't do that around here in Atlanta. So again, same play call you can see up there. Different way to do it. Bottom. We got thousands of reps at it. And this is just who we are. I mean, as I said, there's a lot of different ways to play offensive football, but it's got to be a commitment. And the thing is, you got to have belief in yourself and what you're doing and the way you're teaching. And I think a lot of people get in trouble, in my experience, is when you start to struggle and you start trying to, in the middle of a season, is to fundamentally try to change who you are, and then you start grab bag and plays. I think that can hurt you, and then a lot of times your players at our level can lose confidence. Okay, get into this, the last part. So I showed we're going about how much of our wide zone plays, how it married on first, second down, went keepers, keep the defense honest. Really, that 8th defender moving the launch point for the quarterback, protecting him so he's not a sitting duck all the time, first, second down. And then our play pass off. Now we have our duo. And this is a very common play. You'll see a ton of teams run this on Sunday. It's all over football. This is, a lot of people like to call it power without a puller. To me, this is a really physical downhill. We teach it downhill, A gap out, trying to get as many double teams as we can. We can run it out of 12, 13, run it out of 11. As you can see right here, we talk about taking all 11. This is plays that we package as we motion down into our bunch sets. We've got a wide zone call here. We gave parameters of how we want to our 13 duo, and that's what we're doing. A lot of times we use double motion, get indicators, put them in conflict, put them in stress, make the defense communicate, get down in here, make it all look the same. And this one was a parameter. If we got any kind of strong side rotation, we can, but we were going run to run. This is one of my favorite clips of Derrick Henry. Again, you go up top, and if you got receivers that aren't committed to blocking, who knows? Maybe that corner gets them. We got him on the free safety. He used to say, Derrick, we'll get you the free safety. The rest on you. He can make you look good. So we can see here. That's special. I wish I could say that speed was coaching. That's not. But I say this: there's not many guys that I've been around that can hit home runs like he could. But you can see his teammates selling out, and there's a powerful belief. There's another guy down here that's playing Z. Who was an undrafted receiver, rookie out of Indiana. Came from a different offense, had a great skill set, bought in, and earned his reps. Nick Westbrook's his name. You see these guys flying down the field. There comes the cavalry. Yeah, the question I hear, and I can kind of see these on here. You're talking about the spot you're trying to get the quarterback in. Depends on the route depth. We'll still teach some of those two back stuff. I can get into this in the Q and the A off a quick 5, and then depending on how, if we're trying to push the ball down the field, it's still 7-step, but about the action. But I can get to that in the Q and A. Whoever just popped that in there. So there's a mic. I'm assuming the wheel comes over the top. Derrick could see it, and he could see it's good night. Same play, it's a different way to do it. Doing out of 12 personnel, getting to a wing set. Get the receiver down. Get this thing with a little hand back motion. Derrick bounces it, puts it in the corner. You can see how we start building a package out of this, our duo concept. And here comes the play pass off it. coming into it. And then you talk about a commitment here. I mean, see the situation in the game. It's 21-10. We're great. We're in normal ball. There's no reason to panic. We're still playing normal ball here. Different ways to get to it. But our guys up front, they feel confident. They've been in these combination blocks. And then you get them there, and then you come out in a play pass. And as you can see right here, a lot of guys stepping up. Corner steps up. That's all we needed. He took the bait. We kept the corner high. They talk about finishing right here. Receiver being physical, not running out of bounds. When you get into this, you build your run packages, you build your play pass, it's got to look the same. All we're looking for is to create space. How do we exploit it? How do we remain efficient and keep the defense, try to wear that front down so it's not so much where that quarterback's sitting duck. Then same thing, going off the duo action, backed up, trying to be aggressive, running our low cross right there. Again, that's Corey Davis stiff arming the DB, just playing physical, guys buy in. There's nowhere to hide. There's a commitment. Preach it, practice it, and you reward those. I always think, there's an old line, institutions get the behaviors they reward, and we rewarded guys that played like this. I don't know if there's a turning point in this game. I mean, we're sitting here, no reason to panic. Now, we end up missing a field goal to go into overtime, but we were down. We didn't play well in the first half. We kept chipping away. We don't want to project panic. He's talking about belief system. There's a time when you're going to have to say, hey, there's too many, possessions. We got to go a little bit faster, but we felt still we're in a good spot. There's plenty of possessions left in this football game. We're not going to get out of our game plan yet. Again, get into 2 minute and panic. Because all you need is one play. And here, going to our bread and butter off our duo action. Running a slow glance up top, what we call a slow glance in a corner, playing off leverage. It's another one. AJ taking this thing and hitting a home run. And the game changed right on that play. Another thing we talk about, trust. We talk about over and over and confidence. I don't know how well you guys can see this, but this is one of the better throws I've seen Ryan make at quarterback, but this is a trust with these reps over and over again. This ball damn near, it whizzes off the Vince Williams helmet here for the Steelers. And this is a hell of a play by the receiver, but this is ultimate trust because he's got Corey if he wants to progress. He pops out of there, but he trusts it. There's a window. That ball whizzes in there. I don't know if I can get it on the slow motion here, but you're building trust with the quarterbacks, receivers, play caller. That's just a snapshot, just kind of wrapping up of our identity. And it's stuff that, like I said, there's multiple ways to do this. And I'm happy. I want questions. I want to open it up now to Q&A. I just want to show you example of things we implement offensively, and that's our first and second down package. What we believed in Tennessee and some of the stuff I'll implement in Atlanta. We'll adapt our personnel, but our style of play up front won't change. We believe in it. We believe in a long season. It's going to wear people down. And we believe that once you do that, can we put enough conflict on defense and design plays as a staff, put the defense in conflict and get our players in positions to be successful with reps they have over and over and over again. So put a lot of magic to it, but I hope that helped kind of set the tone and gave you an example of what we tried to accomplish in Tennessee and what we're going to try to accomplish here in Atlanta. So, Billy, you can remove the spotlight if you want, and guys, feel free to ask me anything.
Right, Coach. I just loved everything that you're saying because as a former offensive lineman, love seeing what you're doing on the offensive line. And I guess some questions have already lined up. So what I'll do is I'll start reading some of these off. If guys have questions, just post them in the Q&A section, and I'll go through these as we get them. But I guess starting with the offensive line, someone asked, what are the traits and qualities you're looking for from some of those undrafted free agents that you're seeing in guys that you're getting the type of player that you get?
Yeah, a lot of that we just went through the post-draft, and that's a really valuable process. You can't skip it. Everybody gets fixated on the early parts of the draft, but looking at guys for us, we like to run wide zone. I I like our guys a little bit heavier. I think if you're going to demand to try to run wide zone and as much gap as we do, you're going to have to be a little bit thicker. But we still value hip flexibility, guys that can bend and can really get off football. It's a fine line. I think Roger Saffold would be the perfect mold. I think when he's rolling in the wide zone and the style we played in Tennessee would be an example. Roger's about right at 315, which is obviously huge for a high school player, but we still value hip flexibility, core strength, the guys that can really play with speed off the football.
Well, when you're looking at offensive line, doesn't matter if it's drafted or a free agent, somebody you signed, what's the quality that you're looking for? What do you stress the most from your O-line? Is it, toughness, looking for, you mentioned hip flexibility, but I think it's maybe the traits you're looking for when you're in the trenches.
Well, sure. The bottom line of the job description, they absolutely, in simplest terms, can they block their guy? I mean, obviously that's the lowest bar. And then from there, guys that are efficient that can get their guy blocked. But the traits we're looking for, like I said, they got to be, we value three things. Can they play? Can they get off the football, speed off the football? Do they play with finish and toughness? Because the one thing that we have a hard time, if you want to be a physical and tough football team, for us, it's hard to change guys. If guys don't do it in college, it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard. All of a sudden, to think that in the pros, they're going to just change their mentality. So we value that. And then when we're looking at different college films and guys that get after it up front, of all things equal, we're going to go with the guy that's got the better football character and played him in.
All right, we're going to the red formation now. We got a question that asks, favorite red zone formation versus 7 across? Like a zone and concept you'd like to attack 7 across.
We're talking about a 7 up and a 0?
It just says
it's pretty generic.
Attack 7. I guess it's.
I think the best way to answer this is our red zone philosophy. We'll take our game plan, bread and butter down there, and make them feel that we can still run the football. I think a lot of times what happens is you get down there and you've got some designer plays you put in, and you're just in a hurry to get to them. And you can still run the football down there. You can still run some of your play pass. I do like to get in different personnel. I do like to shift, get into some of the empty stuff. You got to always have a zero answer, which we do. We'll get into gap protection, like to bring it back across. And again, we have the advantage of having pro quarterbacks and a lot more practice time. And we'll get to some of our man zero beaters down there if we see it.
Well, when you have your package of plays for the red zone, we got a question asking, what are your favorites? I think maybe what's your top 2 to 4 red zone plays that you really can count on?
Yeah, one of ours in the drop back when you get down in the 5. A lot of that you'll see that we'll do is a lot of it. I mean, obviously, it gets condensed down there. So we got to how do we displace the defenders? You see a lot of different, right? There's only a handful of covers you can really run down there, whether you run red 2 or red 4 and you get the split safeties. People started playing a little more 3 down there, kind of matchup zone, and then get your brackets, hybrid man, and 0. Those are the most common looks we get down there. But everything we can do to try to displace guys initially, you got to have. It's hard to hit a ton of fades. We've done it, but I like the things that can displace guys running high lows, coming back across. What we call some of our shallows that we don't, convert, that stop. You run those baselines again to give a high-low read to the quarterback. And a lot of times on a 3-by-1, we like to build a man attacker. Or if we think we're playing a lot of zone, we get guys working the back line that's got a late outlet. Because if they get in any kind of drop coverage and only run 3, you may have some play extension. And you got to have something where the quarterback can hold on there and he's got a back pylon throw. So that's a real one of our. You'll see 3-by-1, which you bring a number 3 on the shallow, bringing the backside on a basic, what do you want to call those? Your in break and routes right here. And then we build in either a 2-man pick attacker. We feel like we got a chance to get pressure, or we build in our high-low with the guy whirling back to the back pylon to give a late outlet for the quarterback. I don't like giving just too many yes/no one-on-ones out there. We found over that those are inefficient plays, but that's one of our staples. And then I like getting into our bunch, our weak side bunch, and just running. Again, there's nothing real flashy about it, whether you want to call it a spot concept where you're still building a high-low and somebody ripping to the flat. Or what we call our little wide and arrows, you may call a spot route. Guys ripping to the corner, back going fast to the flat, and giving an individual route on the backside. Those would be two of our more common ones in the low red zone.
If we got any guys that are listening to this and you want a recording of this, my email is in the chat there. It's katdon at email.unc.edu, and you could just send that to me and I'll get you a copy of this because I know he's going through very quickly. Coach, I know you're transitioning from the Titans down to the Falcons. You obviously have a lot of different personnel, especially on the offensive side. You've got tons of weapons, within your system. Will you see a lot of carryover from what you did with the Titans, or will you develop more of a plan for those specific players?
Yeah, no, it's all in there. So that's a very common question I get. Obviously, how you transition from being so run heavy with Derrick Henry. Obviously, it's pretty simple. When I've said this before, where you felt like you had Shaquille O'Neal in his prime, so we're gonna feed the big fella. But there's to me, our offense went because you build the confidence of that O-line, and we'll run the football here, but we have some pretty good weapons on the outside. We drafted Kyle Pitts, and we'll find ways to get the ball in his hands and get in Calvin Ridley's hands and the guys that we have, and so we won't compromise our style and the physicality we want to play up front. But there's a lot of things we'll do personnel and formationally. We feel like we can pass pro here, and we feel like we got to get the ball and to build efficient catch and runs on first and second down. So it will look a little bit different. We may call a little more drop back, but we got to protect the line. You got to build confidence in this league. If you drop back too many times, it become obvious. You guys get paid a lot of money. Your quarterbacks take shot, and your line loses confidence.
You've done a great job doing the wide zone game with the Titans. I'm sure that will be incorporated a lot with the Falcons offense. What are some of the ways you work misdirection in your wide zone plays? Yeah,
we do some split flow out of two back. A lot of it, you see it all over college football. The tight ends and we call them the sift, guys that come back and get these guys, see the defense, or be honest, fitting the run and the fallbacks. And then off that, you can easily build keepers, or we can build play pass actions and get guys to step up and still hit some of our core concepts behind it. But that's a little bit what we do with misdirection and obviously the keeper game that I showed here a minute ago.
I had a question from one of the coaches asking about your play calling. When you're developing your call sheet for the week and what you're going to do on Sunday to try and win a ball game, are the plays that you put in there that maybe your final go-to plays? Are you leaning more on the ones you've repped the most, or are you looking at some wrinkle plays sometimes if you're trying to get a big play?
Yeah, so I just get a little bit where my philosophy came from there. Obviously, when the pressure, the game's on the line, go with what they know is what I was taught by Joe Gibbs and what I read. And I had a great conversation with Coach Gibbs going into that playoff run in 19. And he's been a heck of a mentor for me. I worked for him for a year and gotten closer with him as I've kind of made my own coaching journey. And it was all in Bill Walsh's playbook. And when the pressure's on the line, go with what the guys know. And that was a lot of, I have a section on my call sheet saying, hey, got to have it. And I'd always meet Saturday mornings, day before the game with the quarterbacks, and Ryan and I would go, and I'll do the same thing with Matt. What are our got to have-its? Some of our core drop back, third down, obviously getting your critical third down, fourth down plays. We've done some stuff that, worked with some schemed up stuff, but we feel good about, and we may have worked it for a couple of weeks. Even going back to the Baltimore game, when we threw that jump pass with Derrick, that had been up for about 7 weeks. We had repped it 7 or 8 times. And some of them looked awful at first, but figured at some point we'd need it. And we got down there in a critical third down and figured it was the best call and said, why not? You got to take a little bit of risk. But we felt comfortable because that had been on the call sheet for about 7 or 8 weeks.
Okay, I got one from one of our coaching staff. Our offensive line coach, Stacy Searles, wants to know, tell me about Ben Jones' attitude.
Yeah, so Ben's got some stories about you, Stacy. I don't think they're appropriate to use on this Zoom. But I got to give Ben a lot of credit. You don't have a center in the NFL and really at any level, it's hard. And Ben changed our culture in Tennessee when we signed Ben. And as you know, Ben's not the best looking O-line prospect in there. If you saw him walking around, especially over here in Flowery Branch, you would think he's a local and not a pro football player. But he's one of the toughest, smartest football players I've ever been around. But yeah, Ben was the quarterback of that offensive line, and he changed our culture when we signed him in 2016.
Fantastic. Well, then here's a question about balance when you talk about it. How do you define balance? And I think this is in regards to your offense. You know, is it yards between the running and the passing games? Is it the amount of attempts, throwing and running? How do you define the balance?
Yeah, I don't have a fixed number. Ironically, when I was going through the head coaching interviews, everybody's put a lot of money into analytics, and we have some good stuff here. And again, it's all about the user and how you can apply it. But a lot of people there were trying to ask me some tough questions and said, "Hey, you were 61% run on first down." And I said, "Yeah." I wanted to be like, "No crap." Like, I know we were playing with our fourth and fifth tackles, and we had Derrick Henry who was running on a 2,000-yard season. But really, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is to keep these defensive linemen from being able just to pin their ears back. And so how we did it is to keep defense off balance. You love to be 50-50, them taking just first, second down, but it's the mental game to limit the number of guys when you're playing Cleveland and you're playing Myles Garrett, or when we're playing the Bucs now, when you got JPP on one side, they got Sue Vita Vea inside, and Shaq Barrett, is to frustrate those guys. And same thing when we play Chicago. So there's a feel to it, but I just don't want to become obvious and too one-dimensional. Is the best way I can answer that for you.
Okay, I got one specifically about the QB position. What is the spot you're trying to get the QB to at the top of his play-pass fake?
It depends on the concept. The one I was showing you in the two-back, off the two-back action, a lot of those hit right in the backside A-gap, but we're saying those things are off a quick five and a tiny hitch or a five plant and ripping that thing out. And I call those our intermediate, fast-hitting play passes. Now, a lot of times when we got into our 7-step stuff, we really want to push in our 3-level, and we ran this waggle protection. And this is something Tannehill and I kind of tweaked. And when I was coaching tight ends, the way we did it, we were trying to hit in that half roll backside B gap, and I was just like, look, this is where a lot of my thought comes from. We're putting way too much stress on the tight ends and a lot of those half roll protections. I'm like, we're paying our left tackle here, just talking NFL terms, $15 million, and we're basically getting 5 guys blocking 3 over here, and we got our 2 tight ends blocking an edge rusher and maybe a 5 technique. And said we need to, and the quarterback was ending up behind him, so we started trying to get back and stay between the guards as much as we could possibly. That's something that we naturally evolved to, and it just really came out of practicality. I didn't want to put the stress on our lesser blockers and some of the play passes.
All right, Coach, so how do you handle those guys who do not buy into your program? So, this could be when you were coaching offensive line as a coordinator, getting those guys bought in, or now transitioning to head coach. So
for us, the thing I can control here, and this is, again, every NFL team is set different, and that's why I feel about top-down buy-in, is we won't play them. And I'll look to get guys out of here, and that's luckily the power I have now. But in Tennessee, it's a commitment. It was a commitment by John Robinson, our GM, and our head coach, Mike Vrabel. We don't back off it. And that's easier said than done. And that's not me trying to talk like a tough guy, but as a pro coach, the only thing we can do is we can control the playing time and the roster spot. And you have to have an organization that's willing sometimes, if you make a mistake, to eat that and move on for the betterment, because it can wear people down if you pay the wrong guys, you recruit the wrong guys, and you have the wrong guys in your locker room. And it's just being disciplined and following through.
All right, I don't want to miss any of these guys. I went back to the top. One coach asked the question, how do you separate play action and RPO?
Yeah, we did a lot of RPO. We didn't run a lot of RPO in the last 2 years in Tennessee. We did with Marcus Mariota. We had Marcus, and a lot of that stuff went off the gun, what he was comfortable with. I don't put it in the play pass category. I used to put RPO in a kind of a quick game. So we were running a lot of RPOs. True, we were going to lock the backside in. try to get the backer and get stuff behind them. We wouldn't put a lot of quick game on the call sheet because we felt at that time, and I'm going back to 2015, 16, 17, with Marcus, we felt that kind of replaced our quick game.
When you got, I got a young coach asking, hey, I'm aspiring to coach in college. What's the best piece of advice you'd have that could help him potentially get to the next level?
Well, I would say network as much as possible. And whatever job you're hired to do a really good job at it. And that was advice like I said, I was fortunate at GA to North Carolina, and every job I was given it's hard because sometimes you see guys have these really quick rises throughout college football or really in the NFL. And you just got to be fortunate that, hey, I'm getting a coach. But networking's huge. I can't tell you, how many people you cross. And I always say, you always know when you're climbing up, you're going to see them when you're way down too. And I remind myself that. Never know who you're going to run to. Go to many things you can to network. And really the job when you're in the season, do the best job you can at whatever job you're given.
Well, and I think what goes along with that is, learning and coaching and doing well. And I had a question from a coach that says, not football related, but more in ways of how do you build confidence and build players back after they make a mistake? Yeah.
So that's another good one too. My belief is, especially a guy I got trust, guys, receiver wise, that's dropped it. I tell him I'm coming right back to him. And I call his number again. If he drops it twice, 3 times, okay, I got to make a decision. It's a better team. But I think the worst thing they can feel is if you're going to sit there and you treat them like a backup point guard and they're just looking over, like waiting for you to pull them. I try to come back at them. I try to come something, if I need to call them a line down, that's why I like to go to those keepers. Whereas a lineman, it's really hard to screw up a keeper or naked or a boot, whatever you want to call them in your terminology. But try to give them a fastball, something that they can kind of, all right, I got my back, I get going. But when a guy drops the ball, if it's a guy that I have trust into, I'm coming right back at him.
Once you get past week 10, your O-linemen, they're banged up. I mean, they're hurting. How do you keep them engaged and practicing with a high level of intensity?
Yeah, we still believe that we can still work our technique and develop, but not have to kill them in physicality, especially and you got to know your team and where you're at. If you're dealing with a younger team, I think you can push them a little bit more in the practice, but we got into it late in the year. We had a little bit over the line. We beat the crap, but we knew if we took care of them, we still worked them in Indy, and we felt we were smart with them and some guys that we had to manage during the week, but we never stopped stressing our fundamentals, pad level, technique, landmarks.
You've got, high school coaches that probably have some limitations, especially in the trenches. It's always hard to find good offensive line and defensive line. And so one of the coaches asked, we're limited by the players that we get for an offensive line that has limited ability to move. He wants to know, is the zone concept better than other concepts?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it depends on what your level is, but it's to me, it's if you may have to shorten and run the tight zone or inside zone, whatever vernacular you use. But we're just trying to win one gap front side, and then working around some limited players. 5 guys limited. It's hard. But if you got a tackle or one side like we had last year, we got down to our 5th and 6th tackle, and it did limit you. And sometimes that one way to play call, try to keep them out of a bad matchup. And to me, that's the fun part of coaching. I'm not hanging a lesser player out to dry, and I got to run it left because we're healthy on the left. We got better players on the left. 5 more times, and it's worth it to me. If you got 5 bad ones, I don't have a magic pill for that. So
I'm sure the Kansas City Chiefs wanted that magic pill last year in the Super Bowl.
No doubt.
And speaking of that, let's say you get in the Super Bowl in 2022 and you have a 28-3 lead. Falcon fans want to know, are you going to run the ball?
Look, it's when I took this job, there's been a lot of good coaches before me, and just my personal philosophy. Like, I think Dan Quinn's a hell of a football coach, and they've had good coaches here. And, I just look forward, and that's to me, that's disrespectful to other coaches. And I know that those comments are there, but it's just not what I believe in. I told the players that I don't take over here and bash anything that's done before me.
See, I love that. That's what O-linemen are all about. Those UNC roots and your offensive line, that's how you do it. Let's keep it on the offensive line. Taylor Lewan, a heck of a player, but definitely has a little bit of an attitude to him. But is that kind of the prototypical guy you're looking for an offensive lineman?
No, Taylor's unique. Taylor's an unbelievable athlete. If you talk about building relationships, I mean, you talk about, you go into a guy's history, and it wasn't always easy with Taylor. And he's matured and come a long way. But there's a lot of relationship building when it had to build his trust. Taylor's a phenomenal athlete. He's built different. He can play a certain amount of speed off the ball. And when you get in the drop back game, when he's rolling, he's as good as anybody. But those guys are kind of outliers. That's why those guys go high in the draft.
All right, we'll do a couple more questions here, and then I believe Coach Brown has a couple questions for you. So one of them with the tight end. We haven't talked a whole lot of tight end. What do you look for value in a tight end, especially when you rely on the wide zone? Yeah.
Again, I think you've got to with your tight ends. I mean, I had the good fortune. I coached when I started coaching tight ends. I had a really veteran room. A guy named Craig Stevens, who was as good as a base blocking tight end as you can imagine. He was a prototypical guy. And Anthony Fasano, who was a big wide. We had Delaney Walker in there, who was more of a move F, really, really efficient on third down. So to those guys' strengths, we felt we could run a lot front side. Then as we, lost those guys and we drafted Jonnu Smith and got a little bit smaller there, but we still demanded. We didn't want to become just an open side zone team. And so a lot of those guys, are they good enough? Are they willing? Again, if they have the hip flexibility to play with that speed off the football, are they willing? So we got in that Patriots playoff game. We have to be able to, in wide zone, to run behind the tight end. And they don't have to be absolute maulers, but they got to be good enough where they can at least displace those Sam linebackers, those edge players they see, or get into combinations with the tackles. But I think that it's to a detriment if you don't have a tight end and you're trying to run and play condensed and can't run strong.
Now, last question for me, and before I ask it, just thank you so much for your time. I know it's been a very valuable for our high school coaches. I appreciate you setting apart some time to do this for them. Last one from me before Coach Brown takes over. How do you determine how to use your running backs in pass pro versus getting them in the pass route? What are some of the concepts, some things you think about during the week?
Yeah, it just depends on, obviously your personnel there. But if you got really good tackles and you're a pretty good pass protection line, I would recommend getting the back out of there. If you don't have favorable matchups on the edge, the last 2 years, we really relied on the third down back, Deion Lewis, and this past year, Jeremy McNichols. They got to be smart. They got to be obviously willing to pick up because of the pressure package that we see. But if you've got a guy, again, if you have one of those scat guys, you had Alvin Kamara, you had a Reggie Bush, you had one of those guys, and you felt pretty good about your tackles. Obviously, it certainly helps when you can get 5 out. We just weren't able to do that because of who we had. And that's fine. We found other ways to move the football.
All right, Coach Brown, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Coach. This has been very informative, and I know I've gotten a lot out of it, and I'm sure everybody else does too. And I thought one of the things that we all could learn from is Coach just got a really tough question about the Super Bowl a couple of years ago with a really good Falcon team, and Dan Quinn did a super job, and the offensive coordinator was Kyle Shanahan, who played for us at Texas. And I love Kyle, and he's a good person. So Coach could have very easily beaten up the previous staff. He could have been critical of what happened in the fourth quarter, and instead he showed great class and talked about how much they won that year and what a great team they were and what a tremendous coach Dan Quinn was. So all of us can learn that we've got to take care of each other in this business. It's the classy thing to do, and what a tremendous answer. So for people on here tonight, you got a lot of things out of this in football, but take that one personally, because it never does any good to beat up somebody else, especially when you weren't there. Coach, 2 questions in closing here. you're got a physical football team. You're going to have a physical football team at Atlanta. We're at a time where all of us are being told we can't practice as hard. We can't hit as much. How do you stay with a physical attitude and stay healthy and not be able to hit as much? And you're in shoulder pads and shorts a lot. You're in shorts a lot. They've just cut our number of pad days down. How do you stay physical and tough with your offensive line, your running game, when you can't hit?
Yeah, that's a great question. And obviously we're dealing that in our spring, but we try to get creative, and we've gone back, really in our approach at individual. We brought back out the sleds and the chutes, because you can't, you're not getting as many reps, 5 reps with the O-line versus D-line, and we're trying to constantly work pad level and technique. And the days you can do it, we try to maximize those. And we're being smart. We don't try to be, Neanderthals about it. But we're constantly looking for ways. But we just had to say, hey, look, we're going to develop the crap out of this stuff, because we realize we're in shorts. We're bringing the sleds back. We know we're not hitting. We're using the pads, and we try to, draft and bring the right guys in here. And it's a constant demand day in and day out. And then when you do have those, we got to maximize them. But yeah, we're looking for good ideas, Coach, and trying to be smart. And we said, hey, we'll go back to the sleds and see if that helps. And we found some success with it.
How much do you hit good against good in practice? Do you have an inside drill? Do you have a?
We do. In the days we have pads. Again, we try not to run, 5 power plays in a row. So sometimes you can get you don't have just or really, any of our inside just ISO play over and over and crushing the fullback. But we could try to mix in, get some wide zone, come back with a gap scheme, and even the way we set up practice and play call. But at some point, we got to get after it, and we do that. But and even during the season, the days you allow pads, sometimes you try to throw them a bone at the end and say, hey, we're going to do inside drill. We got 2 periods of first, second down. We get down that last period, we may take the shoulder pads off and just try to throw them bone that way. But
you're so good in the red zone. What do you do physically in the red zone to keep your toughness and your attitude? How do you practice that?
Yeah, so we found that we can still try to run the football down there. And the one thing that I keep preaching, and I've started preaching in Atlanta, you've got to be unselfish. And I know a lot of coaches say that, but we rewarded guys that we put the ball in everybody's hands, because I think what happens is you get a star down there, and they say, hey, this is naturally, AJ Brown emerged, Johnny emerged last year too. The ball finds them, but everybody that we put the game plan in, I think sometimes, at least at our level in major college football, there's a little salesmanship that goes in there, and the guys want to know they're going to be rewarded. So everybody in the game plan that was really up in our rotation knew they had a chance to score. And that kind of helped motivate people. This is a basic psychological, and then coming through with it. I think in 19, I think we had 13 different guys score touchdowns in 19. 2 of them were offensive linemen. So those guys love it. They get excited about it. I mean, we threw Dennis Kelly in the AFC Championship game. We threw him a pass in the goal line.
Yeah, well, Stacy's excited now. This is it. I saw him perk up. So the last thing, Coach, everybody wants to be where you are. You started as a graduate assistant. You've worked really hard. You've worked your way up. Why have you made it? All of us have special traits in this business that we do better than other. What do you think that our coaches would understand? What has given you the ability to be the head coach at the other than hard work and dedication and doing things right? But what makes you special to separate yourself from others so you could get to this point?
Yeah, it's hard to answer because I don't think I'm special. I think I just was really fortunate to be around some really, really good coaches, and I'll just list them off. And it's just, I feel so fortunate. You're talking about, I mentioned Joe Gibbs. Greg Blosch was a heck of a defensive coordinator. Mike Munchak was a head coach when I got to Tennessee, and I think one of the best offensive line coaches in the game. Just people. I got to work with. Mike Malarkey had a huge impact. Dick LeBeau I got to work with. Gosh almighty, I mean, just watching him operate. And I think I just tried to learn from every situation and do, like I said, the task and not try to worry. And it's easier said because I was in the NFL, but there's guys getting promoted left and right around me. And it just, I had to remind myself that, hey, you're lucky as hell to be in this job. And whether it was a quality control or, you know, assistant O-line or tight end, assistant to tight end coach, is be the best damn guy you can be at the job you were given and learn and listen. I know I've talked here for an hour, but I promise you, I know when to keep my mouth closed and listen.
Well, Coach, thank you very much. You've obviously done a tremendous job at every job you've ever been. I think that was a great answer because you listened, you learned, and then you put it in your terms and you did the things that were best for you. And you've obviously been great at doing the things that are best for your team. So thank you for joining us tonight. Everybody on here, especially your Tar Heel staff, will be Atlanta Falcon fans now. And if you ever need anything from us, you just let us know. And,
Thank you.
Good luck moving forward.
If you need anything from me, let me know. I really appreciate you guys' time and attention tonight.